Welcome to evening meditation in the fourth week of Lent and working through the last words of Jesus. Today we have, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus quoting there from Psalm 22. And the book I'm reading that this is based on is suggesting that here we can touch on the problem of evil. Why? Why does God let this happen? A question that has exercised thinkers over the centuries, including the philosopher David Hume after the dreadful Lisbon earthquake in the 18th century, who, as an atheist albeit, but he, in challenging God's role in anything, he said, is God willing to prevent things but unable to? In which case, does that mean that God is impotent? Is God able to but is not willing? In which case, God could be thought of as malevolent. Or is God both able and willing but doesn't act? In which case, you could say that God is not good. And of course, with this problem of evil is not just confined to natural disasters. There is ongoing evil and cruelty of humans towards each other. The crucifixion is not an isolated incident. Jesus' cry of dereliction is echoed by all of humanity. So recognizing the challenge that brings us and noticing whatever emotions are stirred, let's come to quiet and to stillness, settling ourselves where we're sitting, feeling comfortable but connected to the chair, to the ground. And take 2 deep breaths, using those to settle us. Be here. Say to yourself, here I am to this moment. Nowhere else. Nothing else to do in this moment. Be still. Maybe use those words with our breathing. Be still. One on the in-breath, one on the out-breath. And then on an in-breath, and know that. Again on the in-breath, I am. On the out-breath, God. So breathing in and out using those words. Be still and know that I am God. So notice now as you continue to breathe, notice any areas of the body that are aching or maybe just uncomfortable. Bring your attention and focus there as you continue to breathe. Maybe focus the breath to any area of discomfort. Tense and relax. And if you're able to, even give thanks for any areas of twinging or discomfort still doing its job, whatever part of the body that is. Bring the attention now back to the breath, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Noticing what you sense with your own breathing. Is it the filling of the belly, which you can follow by placing a hand there, noticing the rise and the fall? Is it an image of waves coming up a beach and then receding? Is it the movement of the air in through the nostrils and out through the mouth? So continue to breathe and try and bring your attention to ensure that the breathing is deeper and longer than you would normally have. Perhaps counting to 4 on the in-breath, hold for 2, and then count for 5 on the out-breath to ensure your lungs fully empty. And as you continue to breathe, 1 or 2 more thoughts on the problem, as it's often called, the problem of evil, the challenge of suffering. How do we, who believe in God, but also recognize the reality of evil, reconcile this situation? Many, of course, have tried. Some have said that strength comes from suffering and therefore there's the promotion of a greater good. Some have said that it's our own fault, that we ourselves are responsible for suffering. This rather leaves God remote from things, though, doesn't it? And others with Hume have said that perhaps God's power is limited. And Paul Dominiac suggests that we're trying to be too clever, too logical in finding some explanation. Because actually evil is not explainable. It's an unintelligible opposition to goodness. And perhaps that fits with the silence that followed Jesus' despairing words. The problem of evil is probably unanswerable. More answerable is how we respond. We have to be able to live with the doubt that it throws up and respond appropriately. Ezekiel asked, "How then can we live? Where do we find God in the suffering, and what ought we to do?" We hold the tension of the reality of suffering and the reality of God's faithfulness. That line from Psalm 22, if we read more of it, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from the words of my groaning? O my God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer, by night, and am not silent. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the praise of Israel. In you our fathers put their trust. They trusted you, and you delivered them. They cried to you and were saved. In you they trusted and were not disappointed. So the tension, as in so many areas of our Christian life, the tension between doubt and trust. Jesus' last words call us not so much to ask why, though we probably will, but more crucially to focus on what we will do when faced with actual human suffering. How will we stand with all the small, tiny little crucifixions that happen every day? Can we respond by showing compassion, suffering with the other, ensuring that evil does not have the last word? Allowing perhaps the heart to speak. So be aware of any thoughts that those words have given rise to, any emotions, any anxieties. We talked last week about the ego wanting to protect and ensure our survival, but also of gently letting go of that and allowing the heart to speak to us. The poet Rumi said, "I looked in temples, churches and mosques, but I found the divine within my heart." A modern day poet, favourite singer of mine, Leonard Cohen, in one song has the line, "The heart beneath is speaking to the broken heart above." So in another short period of silence, can we allow our compassionate self, can we set aside our doubts, or to accept the doubt that comes from the reality of suffering and of evil, and allow the heart to respond. Allowing the heart to glimmer. Being open. Allowing fear and anxiety to subside. My own anxieties of trying to sell my daughter's car. Just letting that go. Just play a little bit of a Taizé. O Lord, hear my prayer. O Lord, hear my prayer. When I call, answer me. Come and listen to me. And before we go to our longer silence, just some thoughts from Richard Rohr. His meditations for the week last week were focused on Teresa of Avila. The famous Bellini statue of Teresa was in a church just round the corner where we were staying in Rome. Teresa, although she entered a Carmelite monastery, not so much out of a sense of calling, but to avoid an unfavourable marriage. And for many years she lived a divided life. Her ego still clung to worldly attachments, while her spirit was calling her to a deeper communion with the divine. And eventually she finally surrendered to her beloved, as she called the Lord. Meditation became essential to Teresa. And as she walked further on her spiritual journey, she came to understand that this external beloved also rests within. And it was to this place that she would constantly return to receive guidance, love, and a feeling of deep peace that she could not find elsewhere. And echoing our thoughts there of how to respond to suffering and evil with compassion, Teresa also teaches the way of perfection as practicing fraternal love. She wrote, "Let the truth be in your hearts, as it will be if you practice meditation, and you will see clearly what love we are bound to have for our neighbours." Let the truth be in your hearts, as it will be if you practice meditation, and you will see clearly what love we are bound to have for our neighbours. So with those words we move to our silence, holding the tension between the reality of suffering and the response to it. Letting go of the ego and the protection, and being open and allowing the heart to glimmer. O Lord, hear my prayer. And so we come out of our silence and we stretch, breathe, open our eyes perhaps, and some closing words which we probably recognize from Teresa of Avila. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing upset you. Everything changes. God alone is unchanging. With patience, all things are possible. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone is enough.